Hi everyone and welcome back. So in the last video we discussed about the architecture of a booking.com clone application. Because these days I am doing lots of clone applications, so it's good that I mention it here on the top that what clone application I'm talking about. So we are talking about booking.com and that's a clone application we are building, and we just have covered a couple of videos on that, right? So in the booking.com clone application, we have defined the architecture, what all we are going to use. We have a Next.js, Next.auth, React, Prisma, some social provider, and this database as a Prisma, right? Database as a Postgres, which is going to use a Prisma ORM. And here we are going to create a Next.js client-side pages and a server-side pages, and Next.auth, which is going to manage our session either using login password or by login with the social providers. That was pretty much our architecture. So what is the next step? So we defined a high level architecture overview. Okay, this is how we are going to do. And in this particular project, I'm not going to create a Nest.js microservices. It's all going to be written in the Next.js server-side APIs. It's going to talk to the Prisma, and the Prisma schema will contain all the database tables we have. We will do the migrations, all the tables will be there in the database, and we are going to get the Prisma client. Using Prisma client, we can access the data from the database, read, write, and all those things. So what are the primary steps? So in the booking.com, first we will set up a monorepo. This is the step one. Okay, it's a 001, you can say. Define the architecture we have already defined. It's going to be still the same. We are going to write a Next.js server side. We can set up that in the monorepo and a Prisma schema and all. We because monorepo is, we are going to use a PNPM workspace with NX with PNPM, that I will talk about in the detail because I created one Udemy clone and same kind of setup we are going to use. So I'm going to patch the content here that okay, how to baseline a monorepo. And that monorepo can be for the booking.com, Udemy, Airbnb, Uber Eats, Swiggy clone, anything, right? It's all about how you baseline the structure. Then you can define what you wanted to put inside applications or the packages. Define the architecture is simple and create applications in the monorepo. Like, okay, we'll start creating the Next.js applications, some packages which we are going to use, some utility packages and all. But the application is going to be one here. This is the Next.js. We don't have any microservices in this. Create auth 0. Okay, we don't have it. What we will have is create social provider. So let's say you are going to use a login with the Google or Facebook. So you are going to go to the Facebook developer console, Google developer console, and get their client ID and secret ID for the applications which you are configuring. And then you will going to integrate Next.auth with credential provider and Google. Okay, you can skip this what I'm talking here. It's all that this is Next.auth library we are using. It provides us the integration to manage the session, where it enables you to log in with the username password which is stored in the database, or it can also help you to log in with the Google, Facebook, or all these providers. So what you need to do is, this is all using auth. You need to go to the Google developer console, Facebook developer console, create an application there and get the client ID and a secret, and configure in this Next.auth library. That will help you to log in with the Google, log in with the Facebook. Otherwise, earlier we used to use different libraries for it. So Next.auth is streamlining the process, and we can also log in with username password which is already there in the database with the help of Prisma. Okay, so this is our simple architecture. So these are the different steps which I have defined. So here we are talking about booking.com. So this is my next adventure which I'm doing, booking.com, and everything will be inside a Prisma and with the Next.js API route. So we don't have a separate service, and it's going to be fun because we are going to do a lot of Prisma stuff, getting data, inserting, updating, deleting, fetching the data from multiple tables, and we are going to also going to design the database schema. Okay, that's going to be here 4.2, you can say. It's like, okay, create Prisma schema and run migration. So what it will do is, okay, booking.com application, we need to design, okay, how many tables we are going to, what is our database schema, because we are using SQL. So users, booking, listing, orders, hotel features, and all those sort of different schemas we are going to do, and we are going to write a Prisma schema, and then with the help of PostgreSQL, which is a Prisma provider, we can just do Prisma npx Prisma dev, npx Prisma migrate dev, which will actually migrate to our database. So we already have a Docker Compose configurations in our code baseline. Here Docker we are going to use to create a Postgres container locally, so that we can do read write operations there, right? So this is pretty much we are going to do. So let's get on board. We are doing a monorepo setup in this. I'm referring to one example which I did for Udemy, but monorepo setup is simple and it's going to be exactly same. So you can look at that. Then the architecture we have already defined. Okay, it's going to be the Next.js application with the Prisma, with the Next dot and social providers, and obviously the React latest version. And then we are going to build up a booking.com application, start adding the routes. So in the next video we will start from here. Okay, so stay tuned, and you can just watch the baseline setup. Going to look into this PNPM workspace. Like workspace exists for npm PNPM yarn. We are using PNPM, so we need to create this PNPM workspace.yml file in our root. First of all, we can initialize this repository. So what I will do is PNPM git init, and then PNPM init. It will give me the package JSON structure, and then I will create a new file containing the name package and PNPM workspace.yml, and just specify what all folders you wanted to put inside your workspace. So I'm going to have apps, I'm going to have packages. So if you guys feel like, okay, you don't understand the monorepo concepts and all, don't worry. There is a separate playlist for it. But in each and every application, I'm using this workspace, PNPM workspace, which is really useful when you are building a lots of services, front and back end services, and you wanted to put all those things inside a single repository, where you can also have a dependency like some database module can be injected in all the applications of Next.js. So I can isolate that database package outside inside packages. So all these reusability we already understand, because if you're following my other playlist of full stack clone, I'm just adopting the same strategy. But here I need to cover it, because if somebody is new watching this, he will go banana. But if you already know, you can skip this and just go to the next video. And here I will just create a package JSON PNPM workspace.yml. So I have apps and packages. So we'll create these apps and packages. And then you already know like what all dependencies you wanted to put at the root, because this is a PNPM workspace. All the common dependencies you can move it to the root of the project, and then you can start creating the services, like let's say the core service, right? Then let's say upload service or file service. This can be a service, standalone independent service talking to a Postgres and managing the data. And inside packages, you can have n number of packages like AWS S3. So I do have another libraries for the notification, AWS S3, not S2, and then packages, let's say app database, app config, app logger. All these packages you can put, and then you will be just adding the Nest.js modules inside these, and then you can use those inside a package JSONs of core service, file manager service. They would be linked automatically. So what you need to do, you just need to specify the package version. Let's say you will be initializing this with the PNPM init, and you will be building some TypeScript package. And here this is a core service. I'm just creating an empty package JSONs, and then I will go to the top and you'll try to see what dependencies we need at the root. So how to baseline? So you just need to do, because we are not building a service here, we are just baselining the monorepo. So what all dependencies we need at the top? We need commit lint, commit gen, TypeScript, ESLint parsers, and Husky, Jest, NX. I mean, I already have a package JSON. I can just copy paste, so that would be easier for you. And I will explain each and every dependency to every one of you. So here it is like a root, and here you can see the dependency tree. So ESLint, all the ESLint dependencies, nothing new. We use it in each and every project. Commit conventions and TypeScript ESLint parser, because we are writing TypeScript, and these dependencies are all for commit gen, commit convention. This plugin is actually will help us to write a nice and clean commits. This will help us to enable the ESLint with the TypeScript, and just for the tests, NX for, because NX we are using for monorepo, prettier, and then there are prettier plugins to run the prettier on this Svelte. We don't have prettier Next.js. We are going to have, because this is a monorepo. So if it is, you have a Next.js, Svelte kit, all the root level ESLint or prettier plugins will be added here. So here you can say Next.js is fine, ESLint, and then what we will do is pnpm install. So what it will do is it will install all the root level dependencies, pnpm install. And I'm using notejs 18 version. You can use the latest version. You can use nvm to switch the node version from 16 to 14, 14 to 16, and 16 to version 18. Okay, these are my root level dependencies. Nice and clean. I don't have any application level dependencies here. All about, okay, what all dependencies, like Husky for creating hooks, commit hooks. So whenever you add a commits, you should be able to run the Husky to run the prettier on the whole code base. Then we have a Jest for writing the test cases. So we are going to introduce a Jest config, and Jest config is like a simple, plain and simple template. Jest config is going to look for the .ts and .gs file. It is going to collect coverage from all these files, and then Docker is actually a placeholder. We can put Docker file and Docker compose file, sorry, Docker compose and override. So what all, because I'm going to use Docker only for having the Postgres database in my application. So we need a Postgres database for a user service, enrollment service, order service, code service, catalog service. All these services will be using Postgres. So I will just spin up different containers for each and every service. This is pretty much we have for applications packages. Rest you can have this prettier config, ESLint config, and all these we can add in our code base. So if you look into what is the use of all these configurations, ESLint ignore, ESLint RC git ignore, I will try to explain. I hope everybody in JavaScript, if you are a JavaScript developer, you already know. ESLint ignore, do not run ESLint on these files. ESLint RC, this is like a JavaScript ESLint parser. This is looking for all these rules. You can suppress a particular rule if you don't want that. Then prettier RC and prettier ignore. These files I'm copying from my existing project. You don't need to write them from the scratch, nothing important. Ignore the prettier for all these files like node modules, build, dist folder. We are going to run the prettier only on the source code. And these are the prettier rules we have. Okay. Then NX, because we are using NX console, so we need to introduce nx.json, and we already have this package, and I can see NX console, select a workspace, and I will say udemy.tkserver.com, and whatever the applications, currently we don't have anything, so this NX console is initialized here. Okay, Docker we already have, package lock, just config, prettier RC, and you can also create another folder for managing the infra, because I think we are going to use some AWS components here. So how we are going to orchestrate them, how we are going to build them. So this is pretty much about the baseline. I think git ignore is missing. That's why it is showing 10,000 commits. I already have it. Okay, it's sorted now. So this is a baseline. Now what we will do is we will try to regroup the discussion and we will bootstrap what we are going to build first. Next.js console or the React console. I think the React.js landing page and start building some of the services like file upload service, course service, catalog service, user enrollment service. All these services